Hi friends, did you know this about stretching? Friends, stretching and flexibility is one of the most underrated fitness routines, yet it is so important to include stretching in our daily life. The definition of stretching is purposeful lengthening of the muscle to help improve flexibility. Here are some benefits of stretching, and then I'll also explain how and the why to the benefits. Increased performance, increased range of motion. You also lower your risk of injury. It can reduce pain, it can lessen your stress. And some disadvantages: if you don't stress, it could lead into pain in alignment and other conditions. So ideally what happens when we stretch is we have this muscle that goes in between joints. And whenever we're pulling a joint away from that muscle, that's going to stretch that part. That pertains to anywhere on your body. So when you are stretching on the floor, if you're stretching your legs, your arms, anything like that, let's say I'm going to stretch my shoulder muscle and I want to, or my chest muscle, I should say, and I want to rotate my arm to the back to increase that stretch. What happens is when you stretch that muscle, the opposing muscles and the muscles around it will start to tighten around it. And that's to make sure that your joint is stable and that you aren't going to have an injury, because your body really doesn't know that you're trying to actually stretch on purpose. It might think that it's going through some other stressor and it wants to protect your joints and your muscles, your tendons, your ligaments, so they don't get out of joint. So when you're stretching and you start feeling a little pain or tightness and you can't go any further, those are your muscles trying to contract to keep everything in place. What we want to do when we stretch is just stretch to the point where we have a little bit of tightness, maybe a little bit of uncomfortableness, but not pain. And the longer you hold that stretch in that position, your brain will start signaling to the other muscles that they can start releasing the grasp, that it's okay, you're not in danger, and then you'll probably notice that you can stretch that muscle even further. And then again, the muscles may tighten around it, restricting your movement. And then once you hold that stretch for a little bit longer, you'll find that it will release that joint, those ligaments and other muscles, and then you'll be able to go back further and further. So that's increasing your flexibility. So why is this important? If we're not stretching on a regular basis, our whole body, what happens over time, here's a couple of examples. One is just our daily activity. So it is normal for our body to always go forward. Our head, our neck, even the way we see, everything's going forward. And after many, many years of doing that, if we're not stretching, it really limits our range of motion. So when we're driving, typing, doing the dishes, reading our computer, the laptop, everything starts to go forward. So we're stretching out things in our back area because we're constantly hunched forward, but then it's tightening or contracting without stretching everything in our upper body. Same thing with our lower body and our back. So that's when, as you get older, you might notice how things kind of start curving together. So we want to be able to prevent that. The other thing that can happen if we're not doing a regular stretching routine is our body is usually not perfect, so things get out of alignment. Some people have their hips are tilted, maybe their legs are out of sync, as far as one might be a little bit longer than the other, usually stemming from the hip though. The spine might be a little bit less than straight, the arms, and so on. So what happens in life is your body learns how to adapt to that, and usually there's an extra stressor on one side of the body or the other, or the front and back, because we're trying to compensate for the other misalignment that our body has. So with that, just like how we hunch over this way just from our daily activities that we do. If we have one hip that's tilted to one side or one leg is shorter, for example, you tend to put more of that pressure on the opposite side, and then that side gets really tight, and then the other side gets overstretched. So it just continuously gets worse and worse, and then that's where we tend to have a lot of neck pain. It can also shoot up, back pain. It can also shoot up towards your neck. So by doing regular stretches, that can really be helpful to prevent a lot of that pain and extra stress on the body. Another way that it can help to prevent injuries by stretching is this example. So let's say you are playing your favorite sports. Let's say maybe you're playing softball or something, and you want to catch the ball. So when you catch it, there's a lot of force in that ball. So it's not just like you're catching it like this, there's a lot of force in that ball. So like I said, once you catch that ball, if it springs your arm back like that, and you don't have that flexibility, what happens is if it goes beyond your normal flexibility, your muscles, remember your muscles tighten around that other muscle that you're trying to, or not around it, but it tightens when you're trying to stretch that one muscle, it tightens around it, and just to protect the joints. Well, if you're not flexible enough to absorb that shock, that resistance from that ball, it's gonna overstretch the arm, and then the other muscles are going to pull and try to tighten around it. But if that force of that ball is still even stronger than your muscles are, and it overstretches it, that's when you start having tears in your joints, ligaments, muscles, things like that. So you want to increase the flexibility so you have some absorption, some shock absorption when you do play certain play certain sports. Same thing if you walk on a lot of icy roads, sidewalks, things like that. And have you ever slipped on ice and your whole body jilted and then it was sore the next day? It's the same thing with the neck muscles and so on. So that can really help. You might be wondering, what's a really great stretching routine? So you want to be able to stretch all the muscles in your body, so all the way from your head down to your toes. And when you do hold a stretch, you want to be able to hold it for at least, bare minimum, 7 to 10 seconds, because that gives your muscle enough time to stretch, but then have the other muscles release that resistance. So in about 7 or 10 seconds, you should be able to stretch that muscle even further. If you want to increase your flexibility, then you want to ideally hold that stretch for about 20 to 30 seconds. And I know in a perfect world, it might not be easy to do your whole body, each muscle group for 20 to 30 seconds, but do your best. Kind of watch your body, see what's the most out of line, where are places that feel that it's the most tight. It's usually really important to stretch your back and your lower back, because that's usually one of the higher risk factors that you have going through life, is some type of back injury. And then if you're not able to do 20 or 30 seconds, either do the most important muscle groups to you, or if you really do want to do the whole body, then you'll want to, maybe you don't get up to 20 or 30 seconds. Maybe you do it at 7 to 10 seconds, but maybe more towards 15 would be better. Well, my friends, thanks for listening. I hope that was helpful, and I really hope I was able to extend the importance of stretching and increasing our flexibility on a daily basis. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and look below. Speaking of stress, remember I said that stretching helps with stress relief? I have a free guide below. Go ahead and click on the link. I know you'll find it helpful, and I hope you have a blessed day. Bye, everybody.